To Graduate Mentors virtual interview workshop. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes giving you lots of useful information to help you ace your next virtual interview. So delighted to have you along today. There will be the opportunity to ask questions using the chat facility, and we'll try and get to those at the very end. So let me share my slides with you now. And we can begin. So, for those who don't know, my name's Dan Hawes, and I created Graduate Mentor in August 2020. So we've been going for 12 months. Graduate Mentor is a free one-to-one mentoring platform, and our mission is to help the next generation of graduates reach their career potential with expert support from inspiring mentors. I'm also the co-founder of GRB. You may have heard of them, Graduate Recruitment Bureau. We're a recruitment consultancy for high caliber university students, recent graduates, alumni and recruiters. We have over 50 staff, 1,800 clients, companies like Amazon, IBM, Unilever and Ocado. And we've placed over 8,000 graduates with full-time graduate and executive level jobs. Now, Graduate Mentor, for the last 12 months, we've made a lot of progress. And these are just some of the milestones I thought I'd quickly share with you. In that time, we've had over 1,000 students and graduates registered for the service. And many of you are along today and have actually had successful mentoring sessions with some of our mentors. So we've wrapped up over 577 mentoring sessions successfully completed, and all of these have been done over Zoom or Teams or something like that, and we've been able to help students and graduates from right across the country using this technology. So that's great to see. We've had over 570 mentoring sessions in that time. Social media is growing as well. We've got 361 Instagram followers, 193 LinkedIn followers, 163 Twitter followers, 125 Facebook followers and likes, and also several success stories. Each month I post a short success story of a student or a graduate who's spoken to one of our mentors, and they've been able to improve their CV, be better prepared for an interview, or even find work. So do visit the website and check out some of our lovely success stories. We've also run about 6 webinars with lots of different universities, like the University of Bedfordshire, University of Westminster, University of Middlesex, to name but a few, all of whom are very keen to spread the word of Graduate Mentor with as many students across the UK as possible. And finally, we've got over 240 mentors on the platform, which is absolutely amazing. And these are from companies like Facebook, Google, Coca-Cola, the Army, and the University of Nottingham. And they've all kindly volunteered to jump on the platform and have sessions with you over Zoom or Teams. So do visit the platform, have a search, look for a mentor that can help you, book a session, and it's all entirely free. Now, I'd just finally like to thank our partners who are financially supporting Graduate Mentor so we can reach our objectives. So Graduate Recruitment Bureau, SureServe Group and Softwire are all partners of Graduate Mentor, and they're providing funding, but also they're getting involved in a more strategic level with the platform. So keep an eye out for fresh developments from our partners. Right, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our presenter. Now, Katy Prior is the Client Solutions Consultant at GRB, and she focuses on running large volume recruitment process outsourcing, or RPO, and advertising and attraction projects for FTSE 100 firms and also international companies who are seeking high caliber graduate talent. So her clients include Tesco, PepsiCo, Birdseye and Lindt, to name but a few. And she actually told me the other day that she's organised and conducted over 2,000 virtual interviews. So she's going to share some of her insights that are going to help you be far more confident when you have your next virtual interview and hopefully advance through the stages. Katy, over to you.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Graduate Mentors Virtual Interview Workshop. I appreciate Dan has just introduced me, so I will just mention, obviously, my name's Katy, and I have worked with a large number of volume graduate recruiters over the last sort of 3 years. So I have helped deliver multiple recruitment processes from start to finish, which has given me, I believe, a wealth of knowledge and experience with virtual interviews. So due to COVID-19, 71% of companies in 2021 actually moved over to virtual interviews, which is why GRB thought that this was a fantastic opportunity to show you all how you can bring your best self to a virtual interview, as we appreciate that sometimes it does feel a little bit daunting. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with you all today, and I'm more than happy to take any questions at the end of the session. But hopefully this will give you all a little bit more insight and a bit more confidence of how to do a virtual interview. So a virtual interview can either be a live video interview on Teams, on Zoom, where you're virtually face-to-face with your recruiter or potential employer. Or it can be a pre-recorded video interview where you actually answer a preset of questions and you don't actually meet face-to-face with your interviewer. The interviewer will actually be marking it on a sort of different occasion. So what I'm going to do is cover both these bases in today's workshop. So in terms of preparation, so what do you need to do prior to taking a virtual interview? So not too dissimilar to what you'd expect with a face-to-face interview. Ensure you research the company thoroughly, as to be honest, the likelihood of it being the first question, or if not one of the questions, the company will be asking you, what made you apply for our company? So just make sure you've done your research, as it does show that you're interested and invested in them. Also research the graduate scheme specifically, so make sure you reread the job description, and do reach out to your recruiter or potential employer if you don't have the job description. Trust me, looking keen is never a bad thing. I do always remember the names of the candidates who have been sort of, keener in the process, so it's definitely a good thing. So ensure that you practice, so utilize your family, your friends, the people that you live with. Prepare examples of situations for a competency-based interview, and ensure you've prepared for motivational questions. So pitching yourself and why you're good for the role. For pre-recorded video interviews, you'll often be asked at the start to actually take a practice question, and my advice would always be take the practice question, because you can never practice too much, essentially. Do not ever leave up until 10 minutes until the deadline or your interview day to say to your recruiter or potential employer, I can't complete the video interview because I have other commitments. This will show poor time management, and it isn't a great intro to your potential employer. So just make sure you plan ahead and that you don't have other commitments on the day, essentially. Finally, in terms of preparation, test your equipment. So that's testing your microphone, testing your webcam, and make sure that you're sat somewhere that has a good internet connection. And if you can, make sure you're placing your webcam in a good position with decent lighting wherever possible. So in terms of what you need to do on the day of the interview, so I've made a list of a few little tips of what I've sort of picked up over the last few years. So again, on the day, test your equipment. We appreciate that, the worst can happen sometimes, that you have got tech issues, but just remember, you can't control the tech issues, but you can control how you respond to them. So just make sure, you're not getting yourself into a complete sort of flap, and just calm, and do make a little joke about it if you are having a few issues. They'll appreciate you not getting stressed out about it. So first impressions, of course, do count. So make sure you look smart, you look tidy, as you would on a face-to-face interview. And this doesn't always mean wearing a suit. This just means that you're in your smart casual, you've brushed your hair, you're not sort of all over the place and everything. Just look presentable, essentially. And if you can, try and declutter the area around you, or you can blur your background on Teams. That's always an option as well. Do build rapport from the very beginning. It does make a good first impression and it sets the tone for the interview. It's normally quite a strange situation when you go into a Teams interview and you both sort of appear in the interview room. But as cheesy as it sounds, a smile goes a long way, and just make sure you're being polite and you're talking to them. And my advice would always be as well, make sure you pause with what you're saying. It's sometimes harder to pick up on the social cues virtually, so just taking that time to pause will make a massive difference. So ensure that you turn up early. I'd advise at least 5 minutes before your virtual interview, just so you can actually relax and just, make sure you're ready for the interview. At the end of the day, you'd never turn up to a face-to-face interview on the dot. So make sure you're sort of reflecting this with virtual interviews as well. So make sure you're in a quiet environment with no distractions, and we'd recommend actually warning the people that you live with that you are going to be taking an interview and not to disturb you. One of my favourite things in lockdown was actually to put on my office door a sign that actually said "Do not disturb," because we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where someone's walking in mid-interview. It will just distract you and it doesn't always look great. So just make sure you're preparing for this situation. And of course, make sure you make enough time to actually complete the interview. I'd recommend always allowing additional time actually on top of your allotted interview slot, just so you can fully focus, you can relax and prepare. I'd recommend not making any appointments or arrangements straight after the interview, as there's nothing worse than feeling like you're, clock watching or you have to rush off for anything. I did actually have a candidate once that at the end of their video interview said to me, "Oh, I've got to dash off because I've got a dentist appointment," which, as you can imagine, didn't look good, as it looks like you've not planned ahead, essentially. So do just clear your diary if you have an interview. It will just make you feel calmer. So rapport can be challenging virtually. So I'd advise always putting in more effort with your non-verbal communication, and that's making sure you're nodding along, especially if you're on mute, making sure you're nodding along, which is reflecting that you're listening, and making eye contact where you can. It does go a long way, and it shows that you're engaged in the conversation and you're listening. So another point that I think is super important and that I've noticed recently when I've been doing video interviews is conciseness. So ensure you're structuring your answer for your interview, and you're sticking to the allotted time. So often recruiters and potential employers will actually have a whole day of back-to-back interviews. Therefore, you must ensure that you're getting your point across, because you don't want to be waffling. You need to make sure you make your point, because if you've got that hour slot to kind of present yourself, you need to be using that hour slot. So GRB always recommend for a competency-based interview using the STAR technique. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this. So it stands for situation, task, action, and result. So if you stick to this structure, you'll be able to actually answer your questions in a concise and structured way, essentially. A little tip would be to place a clock out of sight, just to make sure you're actually sticking within your allotted time, and also putting a post-it on your laptop or something like that of the STAR technique, or bringing up points you want to make. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Finally, ensure you have a few questions at the end of the interview. It shows that you're interested and that you're invested in the company that you've applied for. Remember, virtual interviews can be daunting at first, but it's an opportunity to showcase your skills and why you're going to be great for the role. So thank you so much for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Katy, for sharing your advice there for our mentees. If you do have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll have a look in a second, and I'll put those over to Katy. By the way, this is being recorded, so if you do want to listen back to it, by all means, go back onto the platform where we will be publishing this recording, so you can listen back to it. Some really good advice from your experience, Katy, and working with some of those big clients. It's very, very important, especially for graduates, to be prepared, because it is so competitive. And I think one of the best thing to do, and I've heard this from a lot of mentors that I've spoken to, is to have mock interviews. It's very easy to do with a friend or a family member. Just kind of pretend you're having an interview. And once you've done a few of those, you do get more confident. You might make some mistakes, but you'll learn from them. So when it comes to the real thing, you're far, far better prepared. So I definitely think being prepared by having mock interviews is definitely the way forward. Okay, if you have any questions, now is your chance. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up and thank Katy for her advice today. And
I think there's a question in the chat, actually.
Victor, yeah. Thank you very much for your question, Victor. You've said, how would you advise to ensure success in getting a mentor with GRB? So, I mean, I can answer that. The idea is you go on to Graduate Mentor, and you can choose any of our mentors by looking at the industry sector. So say you're interested in consultancy, you go on consultancy, and there'll be maybe 20 or so mentors. Have a look at their brief description. They'll tell you what they can help you with, right? So scroll through those mentors, choose someone, book a session. It's very easy to do. You'll see their availability on their calendar. All sessions are for 1 hour. You send your request through, explain what you're looking to get from the session. Most sessions are about CVs, preparing for interviews, or just brainstorming ideas. That'll get sent to the mentor. They'll reply to you, and you're up and running. You have your session over Zoom, and you can follow up with them afterwards as well. So they're all on the platform. Click on the homepage, you'll find a mentor, and that will take you through the process. So we'd be delighted if you are able to hook up with one of our mentors and have one of our sessions with them. And do let us know how you got on, Victor. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure to have you along today. We're going to be running a series of these events. So look out for our next event, which will take place in October. We've got an expert who's going to be talking about personal branding and how you can improve your online profile using things like LinkedIn. So we look forward to having our next speaker in October. So thank you very much, Katy. Any questions? Feel free to email either me or Katy, or give us a call, and we'd be delighted to help you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.